Welcome to the Cooperation in Education podcast series. In this limited series, we will dive into the future of higher education and explore how cooperations can transform learning experiences. This podcast series is part of the Cooperation in Education Knowledge Gateway project, in short, the CIE Gateway project. CIE Gateway is an international project that aims to support educators in better preparing their students for the dynamic and challenging world of work. We do that by 1. Encouraging multidisciplinary and external collaborations, 2. Fostering engagement with industry and society for educational practice, and 3. Equipping academic staff with tools and resources to enhance education delivery. The CIE Gateway project unites partners from 4 countries across Europe: IMTBS from France, FH Münster from Germany, UIN for the Netherlands, and JAMK from Finland. The CIE Gateway project is funded by the European Union. Views and opinions expressed are, however, those of the authors only and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the Finnish National Agency for Education. Neither the European Union nor the granting authority can be held responsible for them.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second to last episode of our Cooperation in Education podcast series about mastering collaboration. What's the best way to approach it? Today, I have Eila Burns with me for our talk. Eila is from JAMK, a partner in the CIE Gateway project. JAMK is a creative, reinvented institute of higher education. It develops and strengthens learning, competence, and competitiveness together with partners and cooperation networks, both in Finland and around the world. And Eila is a senior researcher and educator focusing on teachers' professional development and enabling educational and work environments. Welcome, Eila. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. And first of all, could you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a bit about your involvement with cooperation in education?
Thank you, Mayanara, and thank you for having me in this podcast series. Yes, as you said, I'm Eila Burns, and I work in the School of Professional Teacher Education at JAMK, University of Applied Sciences in Finland. And as you already pointed out, I work there as a senior researcher and a teacher educator in our university. We mainly train adult professionals who want to teach in the vocational education sector or universities of applied sciences or universities. Therefore, our research focuses on innovative learning in different contexts, such as workplace learning or in digital environments.
Thank you so much for that. But before we dive more into the topic, as you said, you specialize or focus on professional development of the educators and training them. How do you see that cooperation in education, so these multidisciplinary external partnerships that we have been talking about, how do you see that helps the professional development of these educators, these teachers?
Thank you for the question. Good question. And indeed, it's extremely helpful. And currently, I think we should do even more so that teachers with different subjects should have more connection with their real life fields rather than relying on the theoretical background or the experiences that they have carried, let's say, 10 years ago or so. It is extremely, extremely important. And the way, for example, in a vocational education training, it is done and that teachers themselves can have a period, like an internship period or workplace period in the industry. And of course, that greatly helps them to understand what the industry is like and teach their students. And one point also is what I'm also a little bit concerned is that the work life develops so fast due to technological advancement that if teachers don't keep themselves updated, there is a risk that the information will be a little bit too old and not relevant for the work market anymore, and particularly in the digital front, as I said earlier.
You're totally right. It's evolving so fast. How do we keep up to date? That in the end, the risk, as you correctly pointed, of the educators, if you're not up to date, then the students are also not well prepared. And we have been discussing a lot in all these last episodes how collaboration is essential, as you just said, also from the educator side, for them to foster that, but especially for the students to develop them for the work later on, and especially for today's challenges. So we have environmental challenges, societal challenges, we have many, many things that they are too complex for just one person or organization or discipline to tackle alone. So the focus right now is more on the well-being of all people and nature and all actors involved, that we relate to each other and we talk and we collaborate so we can better provide solutions for all the challenges that we are facing in our world. We also have been talking about that collaboration builds the 21st century skills that we call all the knowledge, attitudes, and values that are needed for the future, such as critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, curiosity, imagination, resilience, self-regulation. So, many, many skills that are getting more and more important. And of course, in education and collaboration prepares the students to work effectively in multidisciplinary teams, which is basically the backbone of all modern places. You don't sit on your office and work alone anymore. You need to talk to people, you need to integrate. But of course, then that's the point of where education needs to do more than just prepare the young people, the students for the world of work. It's a matter of actually giving them the tools or equipping them with the skills that they need to become active, responsible, and engaged citizens. So it's about not only being someone out there, it's about being a responsible citizen that is worried about the challenges that we all face as a society, so we can help each other and work together to solve that and make the world a better place.
Absolutely right, Mayana. The word collaboration is a very, very modern, easy word now. But what you said, I agree, but it's not an easy task. It's easier said than done. That, yes, let's collaborate. Because we need to understand the collaboration as a concept, what it means, and also as an action. And those need to be learned first from all levels. And I have seen some learners recently, let's say in the recent 5-6 years, there's quite a lot of learners who, and in the workplace, who prefer to work alone because it's faster, there's less complications, it's smoother according to their views. And from the educational point of view, these individuals want to graduate fast and want to get perhaps the job they're looking for. I do understand this point of view, particularly with the adult learners, because there's so many commitments in the life rather than studying or rather than working on a certain project. But it's also what I've seen, at least in the Western universities, even the organizations promote fast graduation. There's some sort of initiative. In the Finnish universities, we should get 55 credits a year and so on. So it's also pushed by organization. So therefore, I understand this working alone culture as well. However, of course, as an educational researcher, educators know that cooperation and sharing ideas, sharing experiences is helpful. It allows you to get broader knowledge, helps the deep learning, and particularly for those, as you said, these very complex, wicked issues we have at the world. Those can't be solved alone. But one thing what we also have heard nowadays with the collaboration is we talk about collaboration burnout, meaning that particularly on the online situation, because so much work is now expected almost to do together, collaborate. Not thinking that where it exactly useful and where sometimes the individual work it's better to do first and then perhaps collaborate. You said about the citizenship and equipping students for the active citizens. Yes, absolutely. We promote currently students to take more active role in their learning processes, setting their aims, working towards their studies. But it also then, from educators' point of view, it's easier said than done, because quite often it involves seeing the students or learners' individual unique needs, seeing how they are connected in the society through their teachers, classmates, families, and so on. So, of course, it's crucial to encourage students to explore their own interests, their diverse learning experiences, and work collaboratively.
Yes, exactly. As you said, we have some thinking that thinks the other way around, that individually is faster, is more productive. And I agree with you. I understand where it comes from. But as we also said, we can go alone, but we can go further together. Now, talking about a bit young experiences, you're quite active on that and also do a lot of workshops and events with this purpose of helping or engaging in collaboration or talking about it. Would you like to share a bit about the workshop that you developed to encourage cooperation?
Absolutely. Let's go for the one that we recently had. There was an event focusing on sustainable entrepreneurship education organized in Finland. And the theme was responsible and sustainable entrepreneurship education. And it was all about adapting entrepreneurship education to look and align with the changes in society and sustainable development. The workshop, what we conducted, were mainly sort of hands-on activities and discussions. Basically, everybody needed to be involved in the workshop. At the beginning, we asked the participants to define what cooperation between higher education institutions and businesses means, what they think about it. It was in a post-it notes, and everybody had time to think about and write either few words or one word only. And then when everybody had their initial definitions, we shared them and then started to discuss what they were. And it was actually quite interesting to see how much discussion and different perspective, but this one definition came aloud and it went into a little bit more deeper conversation.
I really like this interactive aspect that you give them the chance to think and interact and discuss. I think the discussion point is really important. And how did those initial activities influence the participants' understanding of cooperation? What did you see there?
As I said, after we had generally all discussed these definitions first, then everybody went into smaller groups. And the task was to share their own definition with everybody and also bring out what positive and challenging experiences they have had with the higher education industry collaboration. And obviously, that's a lot. Quite often we could hear more challenges than positive, but the positive sides came along really well. So everybody had to chance and reflect also the initial thinking and hear particularly these experiences from others, because they might have realized actually I'm not the only one who have had a very bad day or had a very good day. So that was a very good way to build some cooperation. And after the group discussions, then everybody had a little bit time to think themselves and sort of like analyze their own definitions of cooperation and see if there's any changes. And surprisingly, almost everybody added something and something extra. They didn't delete their initial, but quite often few extra points came along. So in that sense, we could see that the understanding and awareness a little bit expanded and made it deeper.
That's so interesting to hear that the discussion brought that. So it's an iterative process to understand how complex cooperation, collaboration they are. Is not a simple thing. And what were some of the insights shared during the workshop?
Perhaps the main or the biggest takeaway, perhaps see the division that we have, groups have or individuals, we have very proactive roles or more reactive roles in cooperation or collaboration. So the proactive individuals want to seek solution, want to go for it. And the reactive ones are very good in responding the others' contributions and others' ideas. So I think they both are needed. They are not one another, but we need both. And it was quite interesting to see how we work, and we need different roles. I think we wrote something after this workshop, a little article, and then we quoted Mother Teresa's words: "I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things." And I think that if we really understand what it means, we are able to solve all kinds of these wicked problems together.
That is such a powerful reminder. Thank you so much for sharing those insights about the workshop. I think it was a great idea also for our listeners now to have such a thing in their own settings. Just start a conversation, and it doesn't have to be complex. Just what do you think? What do you understand? What are the challenges? What is good? What is not? And then sharing and learning from each other, that already helps. And as we can see, it did work for your setting. So why not try? And it was a great example how JAMK does and foster collaboration. But could we talk about other collaboration practices that Ian has currently in place? Maybe you have a couple examples you could share with us.
Absolutely. I think if we look at our good case practices collection, we have there's something called cross self-confrontation method. But it's basically for professional development, mainly for teachers or those who coach teams. It is the combination for more sort of self-reflection and peer reflection and supported facilitation by the teacher or by the educator. It's a very strong but effective way to self-reflect because you get deeper inside yourself, and it could be scary for some, but on the other hand, it could bring extremely good benefits and encouragement and self-development if you go for it. What we have done it in a different ways, but usually what we do is that the teacher records something about the setting of their work. Let's say it's a discussion with a student or negotiation. So the whole event that is there needs to be recorded first. Those who want to perhaps take a bigger leap, we could encourage them to record a setting which was a little bit challenging somehow. This happens later, but usually not at the beginning, because it is very scary to record and see yourself on the video. It's a very challenging, daunting task. But anyway, any settings could be recorded. And after this initial recording, the teachers themselves look or analyze the video. They do the self-analysis of the video. And we have set up questions for this video. We could ask them to analyze, for example, if it's a discussion with the students, so to analyze the flow of discussion. And after that, or alongside, but usually after that, some peers will see and analyze the same video setting and give their own comments. But the collaborative part comes together when teachers and the peers are together and they discuss these videos and others' videos as well. And that's where the facilitation comes into place. It is very important, the facilitator's teacher's role, to create a safe, comfortable environment to discuss these videos and the feedback, because often, as I said, they can be quite raw to see yourself and hear others' comments. But if and when this discussion happens, you feel that you can actually see some perhaps improvements there. But most of the time, people see, particularly the peers, see the very positive side that yourself don't see. We usually are very critical to our own performances, and others see so much of good things. And usually this combination, when the discussion is going on, it brings like surprising awareness of yourself, like, hey, yes, actually, I did quite well there, but you don't believe it until you see, until you hear others to mention that as well. So it is, as I said, powerful. There are risks, but extremely powerful. What we have done, I've done that quite a few times with the teachers. And they all at the end have said that that's the most powerful tool that has helped them to develop themselves when they allow others to come in.
That's really interesting. As you said, we are usually super critical to ourselves, and it's really nice to have the support then from the peers saying, no, you're doing good. And it's really interesting, and I think very valuable that you have such an approach to actually integrate and, again, learn from each other. And you use the example of peers collaborating, educator to educator, but this in the end will benefit students as well, the end users, so to say, and actually help them be better prepared for when they graduate. So we definitely cannot underestimate how internal work affects what happens outside later on. But we also have these collaborations that then involve the students.
Absolutely. One example from our university, because our university really wants to promote business collaboration. Currently, all new students, which is about 8,000 students, so will take part in a week. We call it InnoFlash, but it's a part of the bigger concept. It is called Future Factory. It's a big concept in our university, and students can take all of it, about 30 credits, but as I said, everybody needs to do this 1 week InnoFlash. All students. We have 1 week in the spring, another week in autumn. And this InnoFlash put together basically businesses and industries give some questions or some issues that they want students to solve. So during that week, all student groups have their own facilitator. teacher from the university that helps them along with the task. So the task is given to the student group, and they have to work on that task to solve the issue what is there and all week. But this, as I said, is supported with the teacher. So they see usually end of the day, seeing what has happened, and if there's something else they need, the teacher will then help. But at the end of the week, all these results are then presented to the company or the business providers. Teachers are there, of course, to help the students. And normally the business providers might give some feedback at that stage or a little bit later. But that's one point. But the main setting for that is the multidisciplinary team. So because we have quite a lot of international students, we tend to mix Finnish and international students together, or at least students from different disciplinary, if they all, for example, Finnish. And the methodology behind this is the design thinking that gives a opportunity to students to learn how to solve or how to conduct customer-driven development and how to deal with the situation which are a little bit familiar or unknown circumstances. And obviously, during that week, students develop many skills, innovations, communication, project planning, time management, teamwork, many sort of generic skills that are there. But it also could give some opportunities for even work or at least internship. It's a good way to do that. Another one is not necessarily used for all the students, but those who might need it. We call it Relamo workday, and Relamo is more sort of means like a relaxed workday. And that is mainly created to assist to find sort of job or career opportunities for students. So on that day also, one employer might be or is usually invited into the setting so they can tell what the company needs, what company is looking for. And then the students can think and discuss whether they need the skills to address these needs or how they would get these skills to address. But it's more practical day also. So during that day, some practical tasks can be completed, such as creating or reviewing one's portfolio or preparing CV or practicing for job interviews or helping to crystallize your own career ideas, something like that, sort of like a supported environment. And this is the sort of space where students, teachers, and employers can sort of meet in a very relaxed environment, having the coffee, having a very informal setting to talk about what to do to get to the job they might be looking for, what they want to do. And I think this is a great opportunity to, particularly for students, to understand what the companies, what the work jobs or workplaces are looking for, what kind of need it is. But it's also, I think, for the organization and teachers to see that are our courses, are our teaching relevant? Do we really address these needs that the companies are looking for?
Thank you so much for sharing these examples. It was really great to hear that you have two different perspectives. One, that you want to develop the skills, as you mentioned, so many skills that are necessary, and one that you explore, okay, how can we help the students to put it out there, to see that, and if we are relevant, as you mentioned. And we can see that they are all impactful somehow. If you are doing something, they generate impact. And most importantly, in a safe space that I actually discussed it recently as well with another podcast guest, that it is a safe space. It's a try and error, and it's fine if there is something that goes wrong, so to say, but they are learning. So I would say that one of the key elements actually for true successful teams work, and also consequently for collaboration, is to create this environment where everyone feels safe to express, to talk without being judged. So really have this psychological safety that in the end will promote communication, which is essential in all settings, educational settings, collaboration settings, work settings. It's very important and essential that the educators and the universities start fostering that already in their own safe spaces where the students can share all their ideas, regardless if they are functional or not, and constructively work together, as the examples that you just brought. It is about being there and work together. And this being open and communicate in the end is what's going to help later to address all these complex global issues that we mentioned in the beginning, because we have different perspectives and we are open to do that together.
Very good point, Mayanara. I think the psychological safety is one of the one of the very big issues that we need to focus on, particularly when we are online, because sometimes we have forgotten that in online environment you might feel insecure as well, the same way as in face-to-face, and sometimes even more so when you are online. So creating that and how to create that, that's a very, again, easier said than done. But in online, you need to have the feeling that the other people are present, that they actually are there, they are listening, they want to listen to you, they want to hear your point of view and contribute, and vice versa. So to create this psychological safety, it's not one person's job, it's everybody's job, trying to create this area, that the time, the feeling that we are happy, we are okay to share our ideas to make it better, rather than criticize or analyze somebody else's opinion. But as I said, I think it's everybody's job to do that.
Yeah, that is a great point. In regardless where you are, physical, online, it is a work that everyone needs to commit and be on board, because in the end it's about being open, it's about being there and have social responsibility. As it said, the problems are there. We know it's easier said than done, but it's important that we are bringing it up there, and together we have a really rich potential of the educational setting and the educational collaborations to foster innovation, to foster communication, to address the societal issues, environmental issues, complex issues that we have out there, and prepare the students, prepare the citizens, as we mentioned in the end, prepare people, because in the end we are all people, human beings that are in the same world, we live in the same place, and to be out there and to navigate through all the complexities where we live in. And before we close up today, I would like to ask you, Eila, how we can answer the question from the title of the episode today. So what is the best way to approach collaboration? And also if you have any final thoughts to share with our audience.
I think we have discussed a lot today, and not only today, but also the other episodes about collaboration. It's clearly a good topic. I think one way approach is to explore it yourself, to see, to trust, to explore what it brings to you, because it might bring benefits that you haven't even thought of. And why for that? I feel a little bit that we humans, I believe we have a natural way to connect and share things, but somehow these current societies have slightly changed that. We need to be very efficient, very fast. And we have, unfortunately, also examples of some leaders who are very individualistic, sort of pushing their own ideas rather than the collective goodness, collective benefit for everyone. So I think we have to somehow relearn the power of collaboration and understand that actually we are here together in this globe, and together we can make it much better place, rather than compete into one another. Walking hand in hand is better than alone. As I said, I think that there is a power of collaboration, superpower.
That's a really good point to close up today's episode. And it was really insightful, all the discussion we had today. Eila, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your experience, how you have been seeing it happening. And today's episode about mastery collaboration, what's the best way to approach it, is coming to an end. Thank you to all for our listeners to join us. And remember to tune in again in 2 weeks for the last episode of this limited series. And again, many thanks, Eila, for joining me today and for our great time and talk.
Thank you. My pleasure, Mayanara. And let's hope our listeners enjoy this conversation as well.
Thank you for tuning in into today's episode. Join us as we continue to explore collaborative projects and their role in the future of higher education. Follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. If you're interested in further materials, check out the show notes of this episode, where you will find a link to our project website. We will fill it with further content and resources in the upcoming weeks. Cooperation in Education podcast series, where collaboration meets inspiration.